Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:32. We are going to reconvene our public meeting. Just for the public's knowledge, we started our meeting today at 5:02. I think it was 5:02, 5:02 or 5:04. We're going to say it's 5:04. There you go. We went into an in-camera session. We talked about things that we can't tell you. So it's under section 24 of the point back. We then took a recess at 6:20-ish, 6:22. See, it's close enough to an ish. And we recessed for 10 minutes, and now we're back. And we open the public minutes at 6:32. So we are on to 4.1 in our agenda. No motions coming out of closed session. 4.1 is minutes of the town of Black Diamond. Yes, sir.
Yeah, before we get too far ahead, we do have an addition,
Yes.
number 2, if we could.
We already adopted the agenda
We did it
with the addition
at the beginning of closed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
prior to.
Thank you very much.
It's 9.3. Sorry, I should actually verbalize that. 9.3 is an addition to the agenda. We will be reviewing the town of Black Diamond policy on snow removal, which is now Diamond Valley's snow removal policy blended. So we will be discussing that. 9.3. Okay, moving back. 4.1. Minutes of town of Black Diamond regular meeting of council held December 21. Can I get a motion to adopt those? Thank you. This is just straight up technical, so straightforward. Any questions, error or omissions? Definitely, I look at the Black Diamond ones for errors, omissions. Good. Seeing none, all in favor? Going to take some time to get used to Councillor Kloiber. She is very catty with her comments and catching me off guard quite well. Pretty good. Yeah, witty. There you go. 4.2 is the minutes of town of Turner Valley. Regular council meeting minutes for December 21, 2022. Councillor Holiday, question.
Just wondering about that motion that was disallowed later by MA. Did you have to make a note of that in the minutes? Okay. Good.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to adopt those from Councillor Holiday. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. 4.3 is the minutes for the joint friendship agreement committee held December 14th, 2022. Adoption of minutes, Councillor Kloiber. This is the motion. Any questions, errors, or omissions? Going once, twice, sold, all in favor? There you go. Excellent. 4.4 is the minutes of the town of Diamond Valley regular meeting minutes. Council held on January 11th. All right, read these very carefully.
No, amendment,
Amendments
uh,
or just corrections?
yeah, clerical. It was just that my name was typed twice. In council resolution 23.01.11.3.
Every town is used to Hazel.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that one's noted.
I had another.
And Councillor Holiday has one to note as well.
Yeah, I don't think we listed who was enclosed on that one.
There's none at the start of the agenda.
No.
So
No, for the closed section on page 25 and 91.
I don't even need. Okay, very good. All back up to you, Miss. That's all good. Okay, anything further? If not, all in favor? Excellent. Okay. And 4.5 minutes of the town of Diamond Valley organizational meeting held January 11th, 2023. That is our org chart and all our committee appointments. Anybody have any Any submissions, anything different there? Scotia, I'll take motion. Whoever wins the race. And that's 3 for her tonight. If this one passes, all in favor? You're in the lead. Okay, good. All right, public hearings. We have none. And question period. Question period is the 15-minute section of time for the public to attend meetings or submit questions to administration via email, text, your counselors, phone the office, fill out a form. We have a member of the public in house tonight who wishes to ask a question. So I will ask said member to just stand here next to Mr. Beaton. And for the record, you will state your name and your address, your street address, because we know you live in the town of Diamond Valley. Ah, there you go. All right, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, my name is Taco. I reside at 606 Sunrise Hill Southwest in Diamond Valley. Okay, well, one of the first question I had was answered already by operations manager. Not to my satisfaction, but it was answered. The pitching comes later after next meeting. Anyway, but the main one I had was parking on the streets. We have commercial vehicles that are parked there with big garbage bins on the back, the ones that you order when you clean up your house.
Okay, yeah.
We have vehicles that have been there for the last 3 months, not moved 1 inch. Now, my question is, why is that allowed? They have parking on both sides of the streets, even though everybody has a double garage. Some people have their trailers on both sides of the house, in front of the house. 3 cars in the driveway and then 3 cars on the road. Why? The danger is to the kids even. Last summer, I almost ran a couple over. I'm driving 10 kilometers an hour and they come running out between the cars. And see, you can't do anything. Well, what happens if I do hit one? You don't want to answer that.
Not supposed to, no, I'll let the chair. He's
Yeah,
supposed to.
I know. He's not gonna answer it either because same with the roads, I was talking to the operations manager here. Is the township willing to pay for my car, high rod ends and all that when they go, because the roads are worse than farm driveways, farmers' lanes. Because there's nothing being, well, you can't plow the roads for one, because of all the cars there. So anyway, those are just questions.
Yeah.
If I can have answers at one sometime or other, I'd be.
Excellent. We'd be more than happy to put that together for you. So I asked a brief question of Ms. Monica Block, who is in charge of the CPOs, which handles the traffic bylaws. So if you'd just like to give us an idea on a couple of concerns, and then we can bring this to our CPOs for discussion and get the proper answers on paper for you. But if you just want to speak generally to the concerns, that'd be great.
Through the chair, great, thank you very much. And thank you very much for bringing the question forward. So you have very valid points. This is something that we hear on a regular basis from residents that are feeling, especially in their streets, that they don't have access to parking. But in this case, where, for example, I'll start breaking it down a little bit, the traffic and parking bylaw states that a vehicle cannot be parked in the same location for in excess of 72 hours.
Your opinion.
And as such, so there are bylaws in place. However, it is possible that that's missed. Let's say we do circulate, monitor both towns on a regular basis several times a day. Every street is typically covered, but occasionally it might be missed or there's something else going on. There may be some extenuating circumstances where maybe that's permitted very temporarily. I don't know the circumstances in this case. What I would suggest, though, is I'll certainly be speaking to police officers and asking them to check on that and follow up and then report back to me. However, as a resident, you have every opportunity to be able to contact them directly. We now have a streamlined process where you can email or give them a call or go online if you wish to submit a complaint to on the website form. But if you give them a call and if you happen to share that number with you, then the first available officer, which is typically on a daily basis, will get back to you and investigate. So if it's been there, we're not aware of it, then we'll be paying attention. That's one.
It's been in there for months, parking in the same place.
Right, so let's correct that. Obviously, I wasn't aware of it and it must have been missed at some point. The bylaws currently are not quite aligned between Black Diamond and Turner Valley. But if Turner Valley were Riverside, formerly Turner Valley, then that's definitely something that we have some bylaws that should be able to address.
Yeah. All right, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, and for any other complaints that you may have that relate to bylaw, traffic, parking, or anything else, feel free to give that call, that line a call. And
I
then,
did last year, and they've remedied the problem within 4 hours. That was that trailer that was parked there with the tip out onto the road.
There you go.
So,
Yeah, like I say, thank you, Ms. LeBlanc, for that. Snap a picture with your phone and phone the office, let them know the concern.
I
And,
don't know, man, I don't know how to do that.
oh, you're smart as a whip.
No.
That's excellent. Okay,
Can
we're gonna go,
Yeah,
Councilor.
Can I ask a question? through the chair?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just while we have you here, do you see trailer parking being a problem in around?
Since I called last year.
Okay. It's something that we're gonna revisit as a council because the Black Diamond or old Black Diamond, you cannot park in your driveway.
Yeah.
But Old Turner Valley still allows it, so it's a conversation that's gonna come up this spring, so
That's why it's allowed.
I appreciate the honesty.
But no, it's the commercial vehicles.
Okay.
Big trucks. They're wider than a pickup truck, that's for sure.
Yes. And that's the key.
Yeah, I don't see, and they're parked right at the corner. If you come around the corner, unless you go over to the other side, you can't get by them.
This sounds like a fairly easy fix. I'm gonna go to Councilor Gordon, he's got a follow-up.
Yeah, just if I may through the chair, speaking to what Ms. LeBlanc has said about contacting our bylaw department. Over the Christmas season, there was a vehicle parked across the street from us between two houses that I monitored. It was there for about 4 days. I let our bylaw staff know. They came, they followed the procedure, which is to notify, they do the registration check. They notify the individual that their vehicle has been parked. If they don't reply within X number of hours, then they actually tow the vehicle, and that's exactly what happened. And yeah, it's not a nice thing for the owner, but if they're not moving the vehicle, that is what happened. So it really, the onus is on us as residents at times to advise our team in our CPO team that, hey, we have a vehicle here, it has not moved, kind of questionable. Like I knocked on doors, our CPO man knocked on all the doors, said, do you know whose vehicle this was? It was from out of town,
Okay.
2.5 hours northeast of here. So I don't know if they even found the owners,
What
but
about house trailers? That's the next question. That are parked at the side of the house, but in front of the house itself, in front of the property line. What about them? They've been standing there for all year.
Sure, that was what,
That's what I was
that
asking.
was,
about.
he was asking.
That's what I wanted to know about.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like the camper trailers.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Ms. LeBlanc,
yes, I may. At the moment, the bylaws are different between the former town of Black Diamond and the former town of Turner Valley. And until those are brought together, they will be handled differently according to the residency. But at the moment, RV units are permitted on the person's property, but it has to be on a designated driveway. It can't be on a lawn parked in front of the door. And again, if that's ever a concern, feel free to give us a call. We can do that in a
he said,
Oh, any of the parking is like.
and before you go, I want to thank you very much. You're the first person to actually attend, ask a question in the new town of Diamond Valley, so there you can tip your hat to
Oh,
that.
there you go.
You're first.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
You betcha. And we'll get back to you. I know where you live, so.
I'd like to stay here. too, can I?
All right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We will get a follow-up though. Nick will be talking
Okay.
to the guys and we'll put it in paper for you. And
Just don't tell my neighbors it was me because I don't have anything bad with the neighbors.
That's right.
That's the thing.
But we're recorded.
Oh.
They'll never watch it. Okay, I saw a hand down here. Ms. Merton. Councilor Merton.
I think I understand the website is going through some changes right now. But when you go to contact, I do not see municipal protective services. So this is the number. No, it's showing up the town office number. So that is being worked on.
Sooner than,
Okay,
yeah, sooner than later. This is something that's been really an issue that we've been working on, and we're trying to prioritize the most obvious. So, this is something that we can do internally, and it's amazing how many things had to be changed, even though we're using format. It's still very much geared for one municipality. So now to ensure that both are reflected, as well as some of these common numbers that people are following. So that's one that is in the works and should be changed. I hope by tomorrow and make it a little bit more obvious. It's just a little difficult at the moment to be able to change it around. So we will try and do this through the notices. We'll also be pushing that on social media so that people are reminded of how they can report complaints.
what is the number?
It's 403-863-4341. Thanks, Mary. And the email is enforcement@diamondvalley.town. And if you can find the form online, it's also on the website.
Actually,
Okay. Is this something we want to have a work in progress here or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just thought we're moving parts here. All right, again, did we receive any questions, Mr. Patience, by email, text, phone call, anything else from the public?
No, McGreen, we did not.
Okay, thank you. Then I will declare question period closed. Question period actions, obviously, we just went through that, so we'll have that work in progress by Ms. LeBlanc. Thank you. Delegation 7.1, none today. Delegation decisions, none today. Okay. Bylaws, 8.1, what do you think? None today, so that's good. 8.2, bylaws, 2023-06, the temporary operational line of credit. Globally. Mr. Patience, I'm going to stick hand this over to you and you can give us the background for the public.
Sure. So, thanks, Mike Crane. So this is a temporary borrowing bylaw to establish a line of credit. Nothing we need immediately. Ms. Middleton has consulted with her finance group and determined that this would be potentially of some value, and as opposed to waiting till we need it, we wanted to get ahead of that particular issue and get a bylaw in place until such time as we may or may not need it. If we have it, it's there at our avail, especially as we're going through amalgamation expense. Ms. Middleton, would you care to add anything to that?
So let me ask you, through the chair. So part of the reasoning around this is not so much the day-to-day activity, but if we had any kind of a disaster disruption in operation, we know we have somewhere that we can access some extra funds. So we have had this presently in both towns previous, and we have not really utilized in my time, certainly in Turner Valley. And so it's just a little bit of extra protection if we don't use it as a cost.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Alden.
Okay, I'll put forward a motion that council give bylaw 2023-06 temporary operational line of credit by last first reading as presented.
All right, discussion, we have Councillor Brooks.
Steph, I made through the chair, ask administration, I don't see anything in here, perhaps I'm missing it. Is there a limit that we request with an operational? Can you point me to where that is? I've read through it a few times, like, is it the, what shall not exceed $1 million?
Correct.
So would we be going to that full extent? Like, what have we done in the past? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
So to address your questions with Chair Councilor Gordon, in the past, we have not. But we do have it available, and so they want us to allocate some amount. Keeping in mind too, as well as there is an interest rate ceiling on this as well at 10%. So right now, prime is at 6.5. So if we were to ever get to 10% raise, we couldn't access it. it would, so there's some ceilings here, but in the time that I've been with the town, we have not had to utilize it, but in the case of something happening where we needed it, we have it.
Because it's a temporary or bylaw, it's not required to be advertised. However, it needs to be re-upped.
Any further questions? No. Just one for clarity. So we're gonna go through our bylaw, our readings, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the 5th, I see that we reference financial institution. Did we need to do that up front? Or leave it wide open when we get to there even? Specific that we pinpoint one financial institution? Or leave it open so that you can select whichever is needed?
So just a question, Mayor, this is specifically with ATB. They are a banking facility and therefore the operating arrangements.
Okay. Background. Okay, good. Any further questions? All in favor? Excellent, thank you. Can I get a second reading, please?
Okay.
Councillor Gordon on that race?
I see.
Oh, yeah. I use the.
Can't go over there, okay.
That council give bylaw 2023-06 its second reading.
Okay, any further discussion, questions, clarity? Seeing none, all in favor? And I will give the council agree to present bylaw 2023-06 for third reading at this time, just to present. Any questions? Has to be unanimous, same, favor? That is unanimous, thank you. And can I get a fourth, please? Council, oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
The council give bylaw 2023-06 third and final reading.
Excellent, thank you. Any further, last chance? All in favor? That is carried. And Deputy Mayor, if you would.
Yes, sir, would love to, thank you very much. That council agree, excuse me, the council authorized the chief elected official and CAO or designate to enter into an agreement to establish a line of credit on the town account with ATB Financial. And I don't have anything else to say about it.
I don't either. I'm looking for anyone else who might.
Hopefully we don't have to access it.
All in favor? That is carried. There you go. Excellent. Moving on. Bylaw, 8.22, bylaw 2023-07, the temporary operation borrowing credit cards. So, again, I'll stick handle to you. You can shoot puff over the top corner of the rim and see where it goes.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. This is also a temporary borrowing bylaw. So this does also not require advertising. And this is a little bit of a divergence from the way we've operated in the former Turner Valley because our financial institution didn't require a bylaw. However, ATB does. So now that's our institute. Now they have requested this particular bylaw to authorize our use of credit cards. Ms. Middleton, would you care to add anything to that?
Thank you, CEO Patience, through the chair. No, I think this is really typical of what we've already had in place as far as a credit card program. We have expanded it a little bit to include more individuals. So, but not taking away from, we have other mechanisms in place to ensure control of the PA system and such. So this is really two parts. It's a purchasing card program as well as a fuel card program, which both of those programs we've had in Turner Valley for some time. So this is just covering up.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Poiver first.
Maybe too much for questions, but it doesn't have an interest rate on this bylaw. So, and credit card interest rates to varies. And I was wondering if these are, if you don't utilize the credit card, that's fine, but is there a kind of
So to address the question, I think it's not significant because we're not doing a rewards program with this, so in the past with our RBC program, I think we paid $12 a year for those credit cards. With respect to the interest rate, it's our expectation that these will be paid when due, and so we won't have any interest charges on the cards, but I would expect that the card costs would be quite minimal. They're very basic credit cards.
The lending rate would be established, or the borrowing rate would be established by the lender. So it would be a floating rate established by ETC for the credit card program.
Okay.
You're really low, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Other points of clarity, Councillor Gordon, I'm trying to find.
So, yeah, I do have a couple of questions regarding some of the terminology in the policy and procedures. For instance, I think it's in our document, it's page 44 of 91. There's a little bit of terminology I'm concerned about. Number 3 on the purchasing and fuel card agreement, where it says purchasing fuel cards are primarily intended to be used for charging business expenses. I'm not a huge fan of using the word primarily because the antonym of primary is you have a secondary. And so I'm just wondering if we should clean that up a little bit and say purchasing or fuel cards are only intended to be used for charging business expenses. The next phrase deals with it a little bit when it says personal charges must not be made, but I'm a little bit concerned that we have a little bit of an allowance for someone to stretch the limits a little bit when we say they're primarily intended to be, but if you do once in a while, you're okay. You know, I think that opens the door for, I really don't like the primarily because you could easily say that, well, what's its secondary purpose there, right? So that is on page, under the purchasing and fuel card agreement, 8.2, Article 2 at the top right. In our PDF file, it's page 44 of 91. You'll notice under number 3, and I think there was it was used somewhere else as well, and I had a concern about that. But that's the one I can find right now.
Okay.
So I'd like to see that amendment if I may.
Have you found the spot? Is it up here now?
Yeah, it's right there.
That's the one, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So it looks like it's,
Primarily.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the, that opens it's a little bit of a gray area that.
So if you just actually remove the word primary and would read purchasing fuel cards are intended to be used for charging business expenses, personal charges.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Just remove primary.
yeah, I think that's easy victory right there.
That would be,
The only thing.
that would be fine. I would agree with the mayor on that one.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, if you're gonna say
Fuel
personal use
cards
cards
are
are to be used for business charges, yeah.
Say must not.
Even intendedly say.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it a shall or a must.
Yeah, like purchasing fuel cards should.
If I might, we've noted this. So this is the procedure which administration will approve. So
Yeah.
we'll be approving the policy,
Okay.
which doesn't include this. So we've already noted
Oh,
that change.
okay.
We don't need to pass an amendment to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure how it
No,
was.
that's fine.
Point of interest, Mr. Mayor. The only wording that will avoid, it's not must not, or cannot, and shall not. The only legal.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So it's noted. We're good.
One motion.
Mayor?
The council give bylaw 2023-07 temporary operational borrowing credit cards bylaw first reading as presented.
Any further points? Sure.
Great. Page 42 of 91, bullet number 10. It says the corporate services coordinator will control and maintain a central listing of all cardholders. Would that be our corporate finance manager?
Yes, Middleton, yes. Or designate, correct.
So a corporate services coordinator, it would refer to her. It wouldn't be finance manager.
Unless designated so by corporate service and finance manager. The finance supervisor, corporate service and finance manager. So this terminology probably should say corporate services manager, not coordinator.
Yeah, I guess that's what, yeah, that's my point I made.
Maybe let's, not right now, but have a look back through and make sure that that wording is similar to it's procedure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything further, Councilor?
No, I'm good.
Left and right, all in favor as clear. That's carried, thank you.
Council new bylaw 2023-07.
Second reading by Councilor Kloiber. Any concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, no. I will give next, the council agreed to present bylaw 2023-07 for third reading at this time. Now, probably beat the time to ask that question before we get there.
So it is it's a question that comes out of some of my work on as a board member on one of their other committees a couple of years ago. Credit cards carry pretty high interest rate, obviously, right? So what is our practice as far as carrying forward charges on our credit card? Do we try? I see that the requirement of the manager is to promptly advise of charges. So do we clear that prior to interest charges being made?
Yeah, to address your questions to the chair, Councilor Gordon, absolutely. We have quite a rigorous process of, and if we don't get the information we need, there's a bit of chasing, but we will absolutely not pay any interest, late fees, anything on our credit.
Okay. No, I appreciate that because that came up at one of the boards. I was reviewing the finances and it just kept coming up and I asked the question, said, yeah, we missed the payment date. They didn't think it was big of an issue. Then we started calculating how much was being spent and they were like, oh. So please hear the guidelines are tight. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And any concerns on third hearing it? All in favor? That is unanimous. That's carried. Give me a third reading there, Councilor Gordon. Is that race?
Certainly, the council give bylaw 2023-07 its third and final reading.
Last chance. Being none, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. Number 5, yes, please.
That council authorize the CAO or designate to enter into an agreement to establish an account for credit cards for the town.
Excellent. Any concerns, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Number 6 is yours.
That council authorized the town of Diamond Valley purchasing cards policy. With an amendment.
Which we've already done.
That's
No, that.
well, that was actually received.
Yeah.
Yeah, they as presented.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. Oh, all in favor? You were sneaking up a hand there. And Brendan.
Oh, look at that. Just didn't put it down. That council rescind the town of Turner Valley corporate purchasing cards policy and the town of Black Diamond use of credit card policy FIN-029.
No further comments. All right. Any questions, concerns? All righty. All in favor? That is carried. And we're moving on. Bylaw 2023-08, council committees bylaw. Would you like to present anything on this, Mr. Pagens? You can give us a brief recap if you wish. Who, what, when, where's, and why.
So this is a bit of a consolidation of a number of your advisory committees and including your committee of the whole. So they form the bulk of this particular bylaw, known as your committee's bylaw. Other committees which have management regimes like FCSS, for instance, have their own bylaw. So they're not included in this particular piece. Verna, Lisa, would you like to expand on that at all?
Unless council has any questions about any of the specific terms of reference.
Excellent. I think we have a few. So we do have a few in here. So just gonna scroll back and list them off. So you got council committee of the whole, you've got economic development advisory, we've got parks and rec advisory, we've got sustainability advisory. That's it. So I'm gonna go to Councillor Kloiber to begin. No, you're good. Councillor Martin and Gordon. Martin first.
I really like the way that the Sustainability Advisory Committee terms of reference has been written. It's very clear, very clean, I find. The one area that they have is communications. And I think it would be very fitting to add that into all of these terms of references. Because it will, then it can be on the website when these meetings are all going to be held, when the different committees are holding their committees, their committee meetings, pardon me. Otherwise the public would never know when they're going to be held. That public can attend.
Well, I think each one does under communications. It's just worded a little differently on the other terms of reference. Times and locations of meetings shall be communicated via email or by written notice to all members. That one, meetings shall be publicly posted. So that means that it'll be posted on the website or the signboard or whatever.
But it doesn't always happen that way.
No, but I mean, it's just a little different wording. Basically,
but if it is right in that terms of reference, then it's consistent right through.
So if I might.
Yeah, please go ahead.
For instance, the Parks and Rec Advisory and Communications says that meeting dates and times will be posted on the town's website. So they are a little different. We have a little different authors with all of these.
Yeah.
But we tried to maintain a consistent flow. And with both Parks and Rec and sustainability, the meeting dates were predetermined for those committees. I will say that before it went to publication, we softened that to allow the committee members and the group liaisons to determine what days and times would fit that group as opposed to predetermining the dates and times for those meetings. So we allow that flexibility until the group is organized, and then we can calendar those particular meeting dates and ensure that the public is well aware.
Okay, so I'll follow up on that. Question for our IEDC members. Are your meetings open to the public?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said and the answer given, communication policy as written for the economic development is times and locations of meetings shall be communicated by email or by written notice to all members. So nowhere does that say public.
Yeah, number 2.
But they should be the same. I
Yeah.
would think that all of them would be
It
the
should
same.
be consistent.
Right, so this would be a great, I think this is a great,
Different authors.
right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll go to Councillor Gordon.
So picking up on the Economic Development Committee, the Advisory Committee composition, we were hoping when we had the original one written, and I think it's just been almost copied verbatim if I'm not mistaken here. There is a bit of a concern. Currently, we have members at large. There's 4 of our members at large are not from the community, but they have business interests within the community. And our former one talked about business acumen from either community. It talked about representatives from Black Diamond and Turner Valley. And our current one talks about representatives from the town of Diamond Valley. And then number 2 with business acumen from the town. So I'm proposing that we make that clear, that they don't have to be from the town, rather that they would have business interests within the town. And I think that gives us the support and the opportunity. So if we could clean that up, that would be my advice. Number 3, the volunteer committee will be comprised of representatives with business interests within the town of Diamond Valley, and to have that repeated at number 2, where it says 8 members at large with business acumen and or in business interest from within the town. As I've mentioned, we have right now there's 3 leading business owners that are part of our members at large, and 1 other who looks they may be leaving the town here within the next few months, but still maintain a business interest within. And we do have a good depth of candidates potentially that don't live in our 2 towns, but have business interests within. And economic committee determination, advice is valuable from each of those. So I'd like us to see, that's my proposal, to change it to the volunteer committee will be comprised of representatives with business interests within the town of Diamond Valley. And then number 2, 8 members at large with business acumen and or interests within the town. That would be my suggestion.
I've got a follow-up from Cindy. I'm just gonna let Berna get that written down there for her notes first. And then we're gonna go to Cindy follow up and go forward as well.
If I might just, before we move on.
Yeah, I wanna make sure.
I don't think we want to lose the town of Diamond Valley.
No, keep it as a town of Diamond Valley.
Representatives from the town of Diamond Valley are those with business interests
Within the town. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
It's also, it has to, or
Yeah.
because councilors don't often always have business interests. So it has to be either from the town of Diamond Valley or.
Thanks for your help. Yep, thanks for your help on that.
okay, that works. Good. Council Coyle.
So the sustainability one is a work in progress. We have to build that committee membership. But I've noticed under 4.
Okay.
And then 2,
Condition.
Yeah.
maximum, okay.
so it's maximum states, yeah, that's fine. Applicants between the age of 16 and 17 may be appointed with permission from their parents. But applicants between the ages of 17 and 18 are.
So it should be under.
Under 18.
It should.
Do you want a minimum age?
No, I think if there's a 5-year-old who's got some good ideas, they could come to.
Okay, so you're just suggesting move 17 to 18,
Yes.
16 to 18 years, maybe appointed with permission.
Under the age.
Just a-
Yeah.
Under the age.
Yeah, as it
Under
is
the
here
age.
now, right?
Yeah.
Funny, you open up Dodger Country at 50. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Holly's got a follow-up here.
Yeah, because these are advisory in nature, I'm a little confused or wondering about the wording for both the sustainability and the parks. Talking about them having annual budgets and
Yes.
department manager. Because they shouldn't have budgets.
No,
Right,
absolutely.
so I think those need to be tweaked. Those, so it's section 9, resources financial for both.
Okay, so let's read one of those off if you would. Pick one.
Yeah, sustainability, the community will conduct its business operating within the annual budget approved by council. The town staff liaison will submit the annual budgets to the appropriate department manager for consideration for it to be moved forward to council for consideration, including any projects that the committee plans to undertake in the town of Diamond Valley. That makes them sound very involved in the day-to-day operations and this versus they're supposed to just advise, say, hey, we would like this. Yeah, it's put some money to it.
But there's a presentation to council saying, here's what we came up with.
Here's what we would like you guys to.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Ms. LeBlanc and then I'll go down to Hazel for Ms. LeBlanc.
Thank you, Afraid. Just to address Councilor Holly's comment, I completely agree. Operations manager, speaking of myself, are both now involved in recreation and was prepared with, in consultation with sometimes our committees, but also with our staff, the budget for presentation and consideration. This to me strikes it as being much more bylaw and an independent body, and I think it's really part of council as far as advisory to council.
Yes.
Keep that in mind and keep the budgets separate, although they certainly would be included and potentially involved in what is.
Should it mirror what we have on the?
I was gonna say, what's the balance here that we want to get to? So I'll go to Martin first, just so you can finish your thoughts on.
No,
I
I'm
can
just
say-
saying, I like hearing what the next. I know that like Parks and Rec always have a budget, whereas like we in Turner Valley, our committee, we had no budgets. So the ideas were brought, and if there was ever money, our chair would come to council, make the presentation, and if we could find money, like for our dark park, then we approved it. But where you are right now is that it sounds like you already have a budget that comes to that committee for spending. Is that correct?
I can't speak to the sustainability, but, not, yes, that's a great question. Sorry, to the chair. So Parks and Pathways Committee in Turner Valley, there is always an unallocated sum put away for projects, but you're correct. The chair of the PrAC group or committee would have to come to the council, make a presentation, making requests for access to those funds
Yeah.
for the town to do this.
Whereas this way, it sounds like this committee will have a budget.
Councillor Hall.
So my solution would be to take the Economic Development Committee's resource financial that thing and just insert. So it would say funding for the parks program shall be managed by the town as designated by council. The budget will be determined annually by council with input from the committee. By council. And just do that.
I'm fine with that.
Ms. Thompson.
So, if you're gonna look at that, we may as well look at the whole thing. So
Mhm.
additional information. This reserves account
Okay.
shouldn't be in this terms of reference either.
Give us,
Number 14
sustainable.
of sustainable.
Oh,
Reserves.
Me through the chair.
Yes, please.
So I have seen a budget for the sustainability committee. It doesn't exist. It's not a significant amount of money, but there is a budget that's under, that was approved for the interim 2023.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. There likely was a budget for that, under Black Diamond budget. But what we're saying here is they shouldn't have a budget. They're an advisory committee. So we want to remove that. And then this reserve account, we'll leave that up to finance to decide what to do with that. I mean, it can still go back to sustainability, depending on the amount there, but advisory committees shouldn't have budgets. In my mind.
So I think we can agree on that. That's a simple cleanup.
Simple cleanup.
Councillor Holiday's suggestion, and Councillor Gordon's suggestion, adopt the IC. I see a lot of head nods on that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we can align those. And there was, what was the other one we were going to align? Same thing, crop communication.
Yeah.
Right, so let's align that as well. Let's make this like the ultimate blueprint. Right, of your. Yeah, okay.
Because the other ones.
Absolutely. I think advisory needs to do exactly this. Advise, these are projects we think are passionate about. And then when direction's set, then managers can say, okay, we're gonna find some resources, we'll tell you what's the cost, we can make our product cost.
Yeah.
I'll even open it up to our managers. If there's anything you think in there that we need to address right now. If you have a suggestion that you think might work, please give it your tweak and we can break it down and talk.
I just noticed that I apologize that I haven't just prior to this evening, but just thinking it's outside of my regular realm of responsibility. But I do notice that there's some inquiries here as far as really trying up. So we've been recognized to be different between,
Yeah.
you know, the IUDC and the sustainability committee. So I would appreciate if there could be an opportunity to meet with those all involved in creating it and that. Unless you absolutely need it now and then have the opportunity to amend them.
What?
I do believe, we have a JFAC meeting last year, that the sustainability committee is flux and needs the terms of. I am the council that so perhaps you and I should have that.
Is there any sense of urgency on these TORs?
Well, we'll hold up passing second reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can easily do that, because I think the changes we made are great.
They're a good call.
Councilor Alden?
If we're not passing it, right, I did have another on this committee of the whole. In section 9, it talks about managers providing for the so is this, I'm just wondering about the duplication between committee of the whole and council meeting, because, you know, financial reports usually come to council, right? So there's no point doing a committee of the whole. Committee of the whole is really supposed to be like where we're going over a bylaw and can get picky on wording and things, but not so much presenting reports. I don't think that was when I was the original one pushing for this committee. It wasn't supposed to be just another council meeting. It was supposed to be like a working session. And I think that we should take out the reports from that. Reports go to council. But if it's something that we're working on together that's not quite ready for council, that's what this committee is about. So I wanted to see if we could change that.
I think you'll get an argument taking something off their plate. Yeah, because that's sure you got curry favor. I feel like there's curry in the plate here.
No, it was something that bothered you. Yeah.
Good for like reports.
We hate
You hate report. We're all about reporting.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion as well.
And then just there's a clerical error up under working principles. It says in number 6, it's development matters, strategic planning was supposed to be in separate lines. And strategic planning, being able to talk more about our strategic plan at the of the whole is something that I'm hoping that we can do. Just counting going forward and focusing on that as a working committee. Not just doing it once 4 years and being done.
So let's make sure that that's a bold and priority of discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Davis.
I just wanted to check, there was conversation at the last council meeting about the timing of that meeting. This bylaw says the 4th Wednesday.
Yeah. And we wanted to keep Wednesdays because Wednesdays are usually.
It was the second Tuesday.
Yeah.
Second Tuesday. Second Tuesday.
That's somebody.
Yeah, fourth Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, we were on the second Tuesday. We did
Yeah,
not want to.
we settled on the second Tuesday.
Yeah, as you asked for the Wednesday.
We're just.
Unless there's a Thursday for you.
Tuesdays.
Because it doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
Do it like back in where we were.
I know you're every Tuesday, so I don't like it. So if it's Thursday, because I have other meetings Thursday, so I don't book anything else on Wednesdays and Thursdays because those are counting days, right? So fourth Thursday is after. Oh, yeah, never mind.
I think we had this discussion, guys. And we'll settle back on, settle back on the second Tuesday.
Here, second Tuesday.
Yeah.
Please.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You guys did approve your calendar and it was second Tuesday every 2 months or as scheduled.
Yeah.
I apologize for this. We had 2 versions of this one. This was the one that we initially presented to council and you guys changed it to the second.
Everyone's being polite. We pushed this one real hard at the last minute to get it on the agenda, if I might.
And then we're gonna.
I love the fact that we're so good up here that we're nailing this thing down. You know, I don't want that speak.
What did I miss?
If it's coming back, if there's things that are the same, like that people need to give certain notice, you know, on all 4 committees. Can you put that up at the top so that we can shorten down the term, the references themselves, so they're not lengthy, you know what I mean? All right, it's coming back. That would just be fine.
Like if communication standard, if resources are standard, you don't need separate points in each.
Yeah,
term of reference.
exactly.
Yeah.
Makes the terms right.
Standardize them,
Yeah.
as much as you can.
The reason they are in your TORs is because when we have these out to committee members, they're very clear on how they.
Actually, that's very,
Oh, because they don't read the intro.
no, they
They
don't.
just read this page.
They
Yeah.
usually just get the TORs.
Cool. Okay.
The standardized wording for council is throughout.
All right. I think our discussion is ended. I think there's been some great points, some great changes. And I think those have been noted, Ms. Staples. And I will take some motions to that effect.
To be the first one.
Thank you, sir.
The council agreed to give bylaw 2023-08, council committees bylaw, first reading as presented and amended.
No,
Just-
that's the first reading.
Oh, yeah, right, sorry, okay. Okay,
As amended.
friendly amendment to delete the amendment. There you go.
How's that written again now?
The birth shot.
They're good. He did it professionally.
So not as amended, just as presented.
As presented.
Okay. Any questions on that? I have some. How can we not amend it? We just amended.
Totally good.
All in favor? I see you now. You're quick.
I'm leaning in more so
Yeah,
she can't
you're
get right. She's got it really, yeah, I told you, I gave her that one.
The council agreed to bring bylaw 2023-08 back to the February the 2nd,
Or is it Monday? Or the first.
or the 1st, February the 1st. Or to be presented for 2nd and 3rd reading.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Good. All in favor? All righty, thank you. That's all for that one for tonight. And moving on. Action items, public participation policy. Oh, no, we're good. No, that's coming up.
Oh, sorry.
That's gonna be after that too.
Okay.
So public participation policy 9.1.
Oh, right.
First reading coming from Councillor Holiday.
That council authorized the public participation policy for the town.
Councillor? Yeah, absolutely. As the maker of the motion, you get first dibs.
So I'm fine with it. I'm happy to approve it as presented, but I do, and I know when we first had to do this, because the MGA required us to, it really bothered me that it doesn't give any good advice on times that council might want to consider extra public participation, so we don't run into trouble doing something and then finding out later the public really did care. And you know what I mean? Like, it's very vague. And it's not very useful for council to say, oh, yeah, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, when we moved MR, right, you have to go to public hearing, and that's the first time people hear about it. But sometimes it's a really good idea, maybe before you even get to public hearing stage, that you get engaged. But there's no guideline, or like, it's not a good teaching document for council to say, here are some times that you might want to consider it. And
Yes.
if you guys remember on council, I had this argument with my previous CAO that there should be some help for council out of it. Once this is just the MG that we got our public participation on.
My thought
I like your thoughts too. I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna come shot.
My thought on that, Cindy, is 3.4 tells us that public participation includes a variety of non-statutory opportunities. So I'm wondering if we take a little bit of ownership as council during our committee of the whole, and we're discussing these ideas, and we discuss then, is this an opportunity for public participation? So we as council take a little bit more ownership. I don't mind the breadth and the broadness of this policy, that we don't articulate exactly where we do it as a non-statutory, rather we own it as council. That's my opinion.
Shot, yeah, go ahead, because then I have one.
So I'm gonna wear this one. I made that change.
Okay.
I didn't make the change. This was actually came out of Turner Valley's public participation policy. The Staples will attest to the fact that we had the option of utilizing templates or Black Diamond's wording, which was more specific in terms of at what points would you list a public participation plan.
Okay.
Service level changes, for instance, which wasn't well defined, and it could have meant a very small service level, and then we got to go through a whole public participation plan. So I chose to install this one because it allowed a lot of flexibility, and it allowed council to direct the requirements for a public participation plan for items that weren't listed. So I wanted to allow that flexibility for council as opposed to pigeonholing us on specific items. Now, I think they both cover a lot of ground, honestly, and I don't think either one is wrong. I chose to install this one though, just to allow it.
So in other words, if we listed 6 items,
That would be.
then horse planners go on to a new council, for example, who's fresh in seats, oh, this is it. Versus we could have Parks and Rec come and say, well, here's 7 projects we're real passionate about, but we know they're gonna cost a lot of money. We'd like council to hold public participation and outline these items, find out where the public is at based on that. That's good for.
Thanks.
Vernon, can you throw up the?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Keep it broad. It's just the council needs to understand. I think that's all I was getting at is it's on us to engage the public policy of engagement. No, stutter.
Yeah, no,
But when it's constrictive, we feel like, oh yeah, it's 4 points and that's it. We don't know when.
Yeah, and I don't want to overly define it as restrictive. It was just pointed at specific situations, some of which I didn't believe actually may require public participation, and that was part of the challenge with service level adjustments. So if Craig's moving to sanding every 2 days, 3 days, public participation. So that's why I put it in.
I think they're good. Paul.
Yeah, and I guess I appreciate, because it's in the agenda, or when you do an RFD, you know, it'll be in there, public participation, you know, financial implications, all that stuff. And that's good, but I feel maybe it is our fault as council if we're not actually, I skim over that part of the agenda and just get to the discussion and recommendations about it. And I don't know if there's how that gets decided as staff, what you do then, if you guys have like a rubric as to whether it would trigger something or not internally, or if it's just up to the managers. Yeah, and you always learn after the fact, after something goes wrong with the public, that you find out they did care about something, right?
I guess if I was to respond to that through the chair, I would suggest we typically align with legislative requirements. That's normally how we would things.
That's kind of the bare minimum. We're looking at a covering our butts type
Understood.
attitude.
Yeah, no, understood.
All right.
I'm just gonna ask, CAO patient, would you do a public engagement, say, when there has been talk about that 300-acre parcel and there's, say, housing coming in, did you do a full public engagement for that, or would that be part of the land use project?
So that's interesting. Actually, that question arose during a recent circulation of a different subdivision application as to whether we did an open house or public participation plan for it. And while there's no requirement, there might be instances where there's no requirement, and this relates to Councillor Holiday's comments, where while it's not legislated, council may feel it's appropriate. And so I think we want that flexibility in this particular policy, right? Could be a hot button topic that has no legislative requirement. So yeah, in that case, if that was council's wish, then absolutely we would carry it out. It is sort of led by administration, but I don't want to say this too loudly, but you know who's the boss. So the council decided that was a good idea, then we'd certainly be happy to oblige.
I think that's why they're carrying the community, because they're not shown.
Yeah, I think that tends to lead us in specific directions from time to time, for sure.
Thank you. Thompson.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful sometimes about the NIMBY, right? You know, like there could be, for example, the subdivision. I mean, that falls under statutory public hearing. But if you were doing something else around that, we have to be careful about NIMBY. An example of the NIMBY theory is when I don't know, I think only Barry was on council, maybe Jonathan at the time, when the RV, the permanent RV place
Below.
development was put forward to council. And that turned out to be very NIMBY. And we were remiss in not moving forward with that because of the NIMBY naysayers. So we have to be careful about that too when we're talking about public participation and engagement, because if we allow residents to naysay something that could have potentially been a really great little development, we do have to be cautious.
So can I get motion number, did you get something like a date? That's something.
Yeah, I did.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so motion or recommendation one has been supported by Councilor Paulding. We've had some good discussion. Doesn't sound like there's any changes required. Everybody's good. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Can I get the second motion? Mayor. Oh, she won it. Good honor.
That council rescind term policy NPA.18.14, public participation policy and black diamond policy N-020 public participation policy.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that? Basically, in with the new and out with the old. All in favor? It's carried.
Veronica takes one year.
That's right.
Shouldn't ask for a lot.
I can see this. I'm just gonna make a prediction. Second meeting and this is gonna be a lot of what happens. Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Question over here. Maybe a couple of those. Okay. We have the North and Regional Economic Development Program funding application request. That is a mouthful. I'm just gonna go straight to Ms. LeBlanc for this, as she is the designate. If you'd like to give us a quick rundown, that would be great.
Thank you so much, Mayor Crane. If you've had an opportunity to read the RFP, this is a fairly new Alberta government program that is supportive of economic development initiatives. For the town of Dunn Valley, it offers an opportunity to be able to enhance our current economic development budget. I do feel that the proposed initiatives would meet the criteria. The timing is very short because this deadline for submission is the 22nd. That we can check all the boxes, but I believe that at least by submitting, we would be given consideration. Hopefully, anything that might be a gap in the information. We'll try very hard not to do that, but if there's a gap, that we be given some extra consideration because of the fact that we've just recently navigated not prior to this. This was presented to the IEDC on January 11th, and it was unanimously approved before the council for consideration of approval of this application. So essentially, this is meant to consider regional activities that are focused on investment, business supports, labor force attraction, retention, tourism planning, and economic development capacity building. Where I feel that our two primary areas of focus could be that we could be successful and really enhance our efforts would be the investment and economic development infrastructure. This would be a cooperation with the planning department whereby we can develop, I would call it a Wayfair, type of finding, program that would start to connect the communities a little bit better and really shows community in that, and promote the key destinations throughout the towns, shopping districts, the rec facilities, parks and pathways. It would also provide visitors with that navigation support so that they're able to find their destinations in those districts. And then it also would help to promote a sense of pride that really starts to connect the two communities through some visualization. So the program itself does not cover any kind of capital costs, but it would help with some of the design and really starting to link those plans together with some of our studies. So I see that as being something that would be a priority as well. Additionally, it would be continuation and expansion of the business supports and economic development capacity building. The hope down the road is that we will have somebody focused entirely on business investment, attraction, business retention, and be able to really work with our other partners. Currently, I have verbal but can get written support through other agencies that currently know about this and they're not planning on applying, and that's community features. I would, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, and they're quite enthusiastic in supporting this. So I am requesting that council allow for a portion of the already existing budget that is locked down in Turn Valley that has been assigned to economic development activities. And it's a 50% match with a 15,000 maximum provision of in-kind contributions, which drops our actual financial contribution needed. So these right now are guesses, they're not firmed up as yet, but as we get further into the project, and hopefully once we have received confirmation that we proceed, then we'll definitely, of course, firm them up. Anything that would be contracted out would be subject to the procurement policy, absolutely. So with this, I anticipate that there would be an estimated project cost of $90,000 with a grant request of $45,000 and a matching contribution of $45,000, 15 of that being within kind. So as you can see, we can expand our current budget, and it would be at the moment manageable within contracted services as well as our current staff. So I propose that for your consideration that this be approved.
I have Councillor Thompson, board rules.
What is the consideration for in kind? What is their expectation for in kind?
It can be a number of things. We haven't outlined that, but it could be, for example, through partnerships with ourselves. It would be the time that we would put together for, let's say, it would be industry workshops, education pieces, any of the IEDC time towards the project.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Councillor
That
Clerk.
should be easy to do.
Yeah.
Fairly easy.
Are you submitting this tomorrow?
But
I'm not sure.
no, I'm just reading the proposed resolution, so.
The deadline is
Yeah.
the end of the day on the 22nd, but the resolution reads you're going to submit it tomorrow.
Okay, that's my intent. I mean, it will be prior, the resolution should probably read prior to the 22nd. That makes just. That'll-
That is okay.
But that would be tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, Thursday.
My only question.
I say it sounds like she needs to get up early to do it, so get a motion. Council authorizing amount of 30,000 funds to the northern and regional economic development program prior to expiration.
Excellent. Any comments? No. My only comment is this was unanimously supported by the IEDC, and as such, I think it is a great initiative to support.
But soon to be
So, that being said, any further comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Let's carry. 9.3 is Deputy Mayor Kelly's snow removal policy review. I will point out you all have been given a highlighted copy of the policy, including Mr. Beaton, Nick, and office administrators. So, Mr. Kelly, I'll let you lead the discussion and Same operating procedure, raise your hand and I'll call you.
Thanks, Mayor Crane, appreciate it. So, the last couple weeks, obviously with the weather change, we've seen quite a shift in, on the streets and on the sidewalks. And so what I've been walking my dog the last couple of weeks, like since over Christmas break, and I'm talking to a lot of residents who are hesitant to basically walk any further than their sidewalk because the streets are not manageable for them. And a lot of them are worried about falling. So I thought because we have just gone through our amalgamation, it would be a great opportunity to bring forth at least what was once present in Black Diamond, and as far as I know still is what we're using today. So I highlighted a couple sections and I highlighted some sections in mine as well. I put the two policies together with paper clips, and then on the back I put the November schedule or forecast, just to give people an idea of how much snow we actually got in November, just to give some perspective, because it does relate to some of the definitions that are in the policy. So I thought that that was relevant. So I'll just briefly go over the sidewalks, and if we could get the pictures up as well, Verna, please. And these pictures, they're specific to Riverwood. That's where I reside. That's where I do a lot of my walking. But I have spoke to other residents in Black Diamond, people that I work with, people that I see at the hockey rink. And there's just a general concern about the expectation, obviously, when it relates to how much we pay in taxes and what they're seeing physically on the streets. So if you want to start, we can start at PW009, which is the snow management. So that's our roads. So the policy statement that's highlighted there, standard of relative safe winter driving conditions, that's not defined anywhere. So I found that a bit subjective. I wasn't really sure to whose driving conditions, and maybe that's something that we want to look at down the road. And road truck. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. And then, so if you go just to reason for policy 1.2, the last line there, while those deemed less immediate in need are also dealt with in a systematic fashion. That point there was important to me, because since I've lived in Black Diamond, I've seen big snowstorms, and then I've seen the snow cleared in a systematic fashion, but all the roads are done. It's not that, oh, we got the main roads done, we got the maintenance route done, and then we stop. But this year I've seen us just stop like that, and that's just what I've noticed. And that's why the weather thing is important. So if we want to keep on going, there's 3.3 there. I highlighted maintenance route because I will look at that. And then if we want to just keep on flipping through, we can go to, it's the same thing under the same, it's PW009 as well, but it's snow management priorities. So this is kind of talking about the systematic approach that we should be taking as a town. So snow management activities will begin in the central core. So, Highway 22, Government Road, all those main roads are going to be done, followed by the designated as part of the maintenance route, which is the last map here for you to look at. And that's important. I'll get to that in a second. And then finishing off with the remaining roads. So the maintenance road is listed right there. On my own page, I wrote a couple of things like Highway 22, 3 Street, Willow Ridge Manor, 4 Ave Southeast, 2 Street, 1st Street, Riverwood Crescent, and then there's a couple other roads that are fairly used roads, and in our community, especially in Maplewood and Willow Ridge, there's one way in, one way out. So it's imperative that those roads be done, and I haven't seen that. So again, I just wanted to bring that up. If you keep going on that same thing on the backside, you're under snow plowing. So this is where the calendar comes into play. So when we talk about 10 centimeters of snow, if you look at the calendar, we had 10 centimeters of snow on November 1st and 2nd. So total of just over 13 centimeters within a 24-hour, 48-hour period. And then following, not even a week later, we're dealing with 13 or 14 centimeters. So we're getting back to back. And that's where that systematic approach is really important, because at that point you get the second storm, they go back to the main road, and then you leave the side streets alone, hopefully coming back to them. Again, that's what I'm not seeing, and that's what our residents are seeing. They're not seeing our side streets being done after the main roads are being completed.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me into the conversation of where we are today. We can't clean the roads because they're solid ice. The problem with that is, or I guess the compounding issue there is, had we done a little bit of a better job cleaning up the snow, it wouldn't have melted into ice. And so now we're stuck with, Verna, I don't know if you just want to scroll through some of these pictures if you don't mind. So here's a sidewalk across from Councillor Thompson's place on 3 Street. This one's very difficult because as soon as the sun hits it, you get lots of ice. In the past, we've closed that sidewalk altogether. Public Works has put crosswalks on it, or like barriers, so that people cannot use it because it's a hazard. We haven't seen that this year. This was taken yesterday. You can keep on going, please, Verna. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. Residents don't feel like they can even cross the road because of the accumulation. And you can see the water there that's frozen onto the sidewalk. You're welcome to keep going, Verna. Same thing here. Like, this is a resident's driveway. They clean their driveway off, but when it melts, all this goes up onto their driveway. You can keep going, Verna. Here's one of the, this is in between Willow Ridge and Riverwood.
Pathway.
This is the pathway, yeah. Now there's sand available, but it's up on the hill. And this would be quite a walk for a resident to be expected to, or maybe even give a light brushing. You can keep going, Verna. So here again.
Can I enter?
Yeah, of course.
And the sandbox is, the one sandbox is almost empty, because I went and sanded myself the other day. Oh, just so you
Yeah,
know.
no, appreciate it. Here again, I'm not sure who's like, and again, just for clarity, I don't know who's necessarily responsible. This is a back
You
alley.
can't win here. Like, if it snows and you're first out to clear your walk and you get the alley before someone drives through it, like, yes. But once someone or 2 cars have driven over,
So these are a wash.
you're stuck.
Yeah, that's fair. And I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, no,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If I may, that actually is a concern of mine because the alley apron on Country Meadows closed at the end of Edwards, 417 is Edwards, 655 is Country Meadows closed. That apron, parts of that, I don't know if you've noticed, Craig, and if your team has mentioned it, there's about 7 inches of ice. It's super thick. And doesn't it have the main water turn up in there somewhere?
It would be in the apron now.
It's in the apron and it's covered. There's no way, it's at least 7 to 10 inches of ice there because the way it comes down off of the back alley. It's the slope. I meant to take a picture of it today. That's my bad.
Okay. So you can keep on going. So same thing. This is at the park in Riverwood. Again, I don't know what the expectation would be for a resident to have to go out and clean that up. Like, I just don't know. That's what residents are saying. How am I supposed to clean this up? I can dump cups and cups of salt on it, but as soon as the sun hits it, it melts again and it comes. And this is straight from the street. It's straight from the street. These are not from residents. The water did not come across there. Like, you would see the whole sidewalk would be wet had it come left to right. So this is coming right from the road to the sidewalk. Continue on, please. So my kids here, this is again at the end of one of the paths. Again, it's covered. There's no indication of any sand there whatsoever at any point from what I can see. Please continue, Verna. This is the one going down the hill. This one's really tough to manage. The sandbox is right next to it, but again, it doesn't, yeah, please go ahead, Verna. Same thing. You could probably, yeah, I just don't, yeah. So those are all the pictures. Again, we have an opportunity in front of us. And if I could quickly just go to PW 010, the reason for the policy right at the very beginning is to provide excellent service. I just haven't seen excellent service. I know that if we're putting out an effort, we're perhaps seeing more salt and sand. The sand truck went through Riverwood today and it didn't do our cul-de-sac, didn't do the cul-de-sac across the street from us. If I'm approaching that stop sign and kids come to cross and I have to stop, and I'm not going fast, don't get me wrong, I'm going 30 at tops, because that's the speed limit there. It takes me a long time to stop. And then these are just real concerns in front of us. So I just wanted to bring it to council's attention. Got a good opportunity to talk about it. And it's not to throw anybody under the bus. We've been dealing with a lot with amalgamation, but now that amalgamation is coming to fruition, I think that now is a great opportunity for us to look at these things when they're in front of us, and the residents are definitely concerned. That's all I've got. Thank you for hearing me out.
Excellent. I'm gonna open up to the floor because I love snow clearing. And so I've got my own thoughts, so I'm gonna let them talk first and then I'll get on board. Thoughts, concerns?
Say for Turner Valley, our team, our public works team has been great. And I really honestly believe, Brendan, you will see that here. Like for snow clearing, it will be done very promptly and very efficiently. You know, it is what is my observation. I don't think you're gonna have this going forward.
And mine doesn't so much, a little bit of concern with the trails, only because we spend 5 days in Canmore, right? Enjoying a lot of their public trails actually have a sign that says trail not maintained during the winter season, use at own risk. So I'm wondering if that's something we may need to consider to add to that, because that is an extensive use. Banff was the same way, Banff, Canmore, that entire area, right? Obviously, we don't get the same amount of snow that they do, but this season we've got an incredible amount of ice conditions. I do have to say, I have been approached by some community members more concerned about private residences not being cleared when they're out walking. And I know recently our CPO teams have been very careful in getting that taken care of recently, so kudos to them. But it thanks Councillor Kelly for bringing this forward. We have an opportunity to set a standard that is realized in the terms of the policy, which is excellent service. So let's get her done.
All they do, Councillor Thompson.
It would be really, when this is all getting relooked at in Master John, it would be really useful for councils to have actual numbers for, you know, what a snowfall event, how much we're spending each year on snow clearing, and how much a typical event costs us in the sanding, and, you know, what does it take to sand full 10? So we can, when residents complain, because I have residents both sides complaining we spend too much money, and then residents saying we're not spending enough. So it would be nice to actually have numbers that we can, I know one time we did ask and we got, you know, some rough numbers on what a large snow clearing event costs. But just so that we have, that would be really helpful.
Councillor Thompson and Clover.
And I think that we need to give the staff time to come up with that standardized plan for both towns. I agree with Councillor Martin that in the past, the former town of Turner Valley had a pretty good policy in place. And I understand that administration wants to look at all the policies to move forward. And, you know, this snowfall did happen in November, and it's unfortunate. It wasn't cleared, and that has caused a lot of issues here in Black Diamond. It's unfortunate it wasn't taken care of back in November, because then we got that huge freeze and then the huge melt, which has caused so many issues. But standardized to the point of, you know, cul-de-sacs being sanded properly, crossings being sanded properly. That's part of the problem that I'm finding when I'm out walking. I'm very cautious myself anyway. I wear my spiky shoes, and I get it. Pathways, they're difficult to maintain in the winter months anyway. And many of our pathways have got hillsides coming right down onto them. So that's difficult to manage. But, you know, standardizing intersections so that you can get across the intersection to a clear path. Okay? That's the scariest part right now in Black Diamond, that I can't get across the street without my son keeps saying, don't fall and break a hip, Mom. And I'm really frightened of that. So I'm old now. So anyway, I think that it's a service level review. And so we have to give staff a chance to move forward and come back to us with new policies and new guidelines and procedures for the new town staff, the new town Diamond Valley manager. So I would leave it at that.
Hey, Council Coyle.
Well, I got this policy, for review a few years ago after we had that Christmas time large snow event. Because it wasn't working in that situation either. So I think this is a golden opportunity to review it and think about how it could be improved. The grader was out today. I've been having a heck of a time cleaning my sidewalk and keeping it clear. It's overflowing from the gutter and it's got the incline and it's coming down. But the grader operator, he made marks, but he couldn't actually grate anything off. It was, I think he would have had an easier time in the summer with the grader peeling off the top layer of asphalt. Seriously, he was there for a while, I'm like, it's not working, man.
Savers on.
Yeah, I appreciate that they're trying, but yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this forward, Deputy Mayor Kelly. Snow removal to me is one of the most important things in the winter. And I come from the land of snow in Newfoundland, and I go over your snowbanks are 14 feet. And if you were to shovel your street into the road, you would be beaten with a hockey stick. Like, to me, common sense goes a certain distance, and shoveling your sidewalk into the road, which some of your pictures, is exactly why the snow is trapped and the water builds up on that sidewalk. It's because you shoveled it into the road. Now you've created your own demise. So we need to look at this. It needs to be set out clear and simple. If you do this, bylaw is also going to come and visit your house. And that, I would say, is an easy one. We can't all have neighbors like we have. I have one neighbor who shovels the road, the alley, ridiculously, right? Because he lives and he has an alley with an incline. He shovels the entire thing, and I look out at him and I'm going, now, I've got energy, but this guy, he is next level. So it leads into another portion of the conversation I'd love to have when we get to this. It's about neighborhood watch mentality. And it's as simple as in each little node, we got Country Meadows, we've got Sunrise Hill, we've got Riverwood. No. No.
that's more.
There you go. No. I just learned something new about Glass Valley. But you have a volunteer group that says, yeah, when it snows, we're going to go up and we're going to hit that little tiny trail, that little alleyway access, and so on. And that's that part of the contributions of town to help your neighborhood, help your elderly navigate the slips and falls, right? You like how I did that without anyone noticing? So I really look forward to having this deeper dive discussion and service level review with our manager. I know we have had great opportunities in the years past to do some great snow removal. But this year, I gotta say, this ice is unbelievable. It is the worst. And just because that cold snap was so bad, no one could go out. So I look forward to a 10-degree day where we can do some straight.
Could we get some comments from Greg on this?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you. To the chair, Mr. Mayor, to council, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about snow and ice because this is always a very contentious subject every year, and everyone has an opinion. They're not always equal, and these opinions are based on where they used to live, different provinces, different parts of the province. And the one thing I would like to start off with is this is a very challenging part of the province. We are subject to extreme variations in temperature, where we have snow, then we have positive temperatures, we have melt, and then we have freeze. I can't speak to former Black Diamond pump processes. I was not part of the process. As a resident, I have plenty to say, which I won't do that here. However, the challenges with snow and ice in this area, especially with such sustained snow with the melting conditions, is the trucks will go out in sand, and then throughout the day it melts right down through the ice that is built up. I will openly admit that There is more ice than we have ever imagined. But then throughout the night, all that water that's moved and resettled has frozen, and now it kind of deletes everything that we've gone through. I will tell you, in the spring, you're going to have a lot of complaints because now you're going to have dust and gravel everywhere. And it's going to look like we don't own paved roads in Black Diamond or Turner Valley or Diamond Valley as a whole. And so it's a really tough balance. It does come down to what is council willing to spend. As you know, trying to scrape ice off of asphalt is really, really difficult with specialized equipment that we don't. Ideally, we hope not to have that ice build up before it becomes ice. But those are also challenges. Trying to get into residential neighborhoods with cars parked on those sides, or sometimes commercial vehicles parked in those streets. Our plows are 13-foot wide, and the streets are maybe 15 feet wide when you get parked vehicles. So it becomes a challenge, and then now where you put snow, now you're pushing it up against these. I agree that there will be a serious review of the policy, and we will be having further discussions undoubtedly before next snow season. With this snow season, I intend to do my best to improve the service levels but maintaining within the scope of these policies that we have respectfully inside. There are a few blind spots for me at the moment. Black Diamond traditionally has done things a little different than Turner Valley, and it's broken up in a few different categories that's taken me a couple of days to kind of wrap my head around. We have been sanding feverishly. We have been scraping in areas every day. We've been hauling as much ice and snow out of certain areas that we can, where we've been a little bit more concerning. The sander for the trails was out this morning doing sidewalks. Well, how far we got today, I wasn't able to finalize from the staff to stuff. But that will continue throughout the weeks. And residents shouldn't be provided sandboxes and having sand. That is not acceptable. We haven't put we provide sandboxes so that residents can collect sand for their own personal driveways in case there's challenges. So I don't know what more to say on that topic other than we will do our best to alleviate some of those problems. We are actively doing the best we can to scrape some of those pedestrian areas. I would like to add, it's more of a criticism than anything else. Sidewalks are definitely an issue within both municipalities, and when I say sidewalks are an issue, it's the lack of. We're forcibly putting residents into the streets to walk. Sunrise Hill is one of those neighborhoods where residents have no choice but to walk. And it's important to understand that the sander can't do curb to curb on every street. It's just not feasible, and it's not possible. We have to be careful. We don't want to damage vehicles by chipping them, by throwing sand at them. So it's really difficult for us to get into those intersections, right up into the crosswalk approaches. So really, at the end of this conversation, it really comes down to a really unfortunate period of really warm weather. That's 14 centimeters of snow we received before December. We wouldn't have removed that even in Turner Valley based on the policy that's written. So it really comes down to how much you want to spend. I can tell you for Turner Valley, just a moderate snow. So 2 years ago when we got that half meter of snow, it was about $35,000 just to remove the snow. So you're looking for $60,000, $70,000 per snow.
We contracted it out, and I think we contracted that storm out.
So we have.
Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah,
If I made it through the chair.
You're gonna like this guy.
Yeah, I'm like 35,000. Hold on. I may be wrong.
we only contract the trucks. We have a large snow blower. We can physically remove the snow, and a half meter of snow that we received, we had it all done in 3 days.
I remember watching your videos.
Yeah.
That's why I ran for that's why, because of that snowstorm.
Yeah, so we're just paying for the haul rather than equipment to remove the snow as well. So our staff do the actual removal. We actually have now, between the two towns, collective equipment, we actually have 3 trucks now that can haul. And so it's just, we can hire fewer trucks.
Yeah.
It's cost savings.
Yeah.
Good. I will say one thing, that I really appreciate. I think day 3 or day 2 of Amalgamated Community, you scraped all the schools all the way around. Excellent job. It's good to see. Mary Hill, you want to wrap it up?
I like Mary Kelly. That's $5. Yeah.
Hazel never caught, I called her Heather. Tim.
In all seriousness, through the chair, Craig, thank you for taking the time to come in. Really appreciate and almost admire what you guys have been doing in Turner Valley, and I meant that sentiment. I was here during the snowstorm. I'd push an ambulance out of our cul-de-sac when that happened, a couple of days after it happened. And I'm really excited to have you leading this team moving forward. And no criticism from me towards you and the staff. I really look forward to seeing what you guys can do. I just wanted to bring this forward to council so that we had a good grip on it. So I appreciate you coming in tonight.
You're welcome. And if I can add just a little bit more to do this, the policy, it's been high on my priority list. It is something that is fully intended to be reviewed and rewritten. I have plenty of ideas to correct some of our issues. But ultimately, there are some challenges, no matter how you deal with snow and ice. There's always the residential areas that are difficult getting to, it's costly, and there are options, but it's something to be used. And sidewalks are some
Thank you again.
All right. That can be part of that pedestrian review as well. Councilor.
I have a question for Craig. Tomorrow is our library board meeting. Can you give me an update of when the furnace will be repaired? Do you have an actual date that I can take to them and say, this is when it's all gonna happen?
Yes, through the chair, Councillor Murphy. I've just responded to Peggy this afternoon. It has been an ongoing situation that I'm trying to resolve. I just heard from our contractor this afternoon. Parts are all ordered. He doesn't have a date for install, but he's hoping by Friday afternoon that we'll be able to get. But parts have been ordered. We're ready to go as soon as they arrive.
Okay, so by Friday, you will know.
He's suggesting that he will be able to. But currently the system is working, albeit it's not working at its optimum performance. It is kind of hardwired or hotwired to just run at a constant temperature. And right now it's acceptable, but if we get into the double digits, well, I hope to have this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, no motion required of that. Thank you for bringing it forward. Actually, I'll take a motion to accept your information.
I give it to you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to 10, reports of committee minutes. 10.1, we have none. And 10.2, reports. We have none. Okay. 10.3. Administrative inquiries and staff reports. So Mr. Patient, CAO reports. You want to run through it?
I won't go into too much detail. Council has it really. Bulk of the work has been around amalgamation. Same number of meetings, typically daily. If you're not hearing from me, the emails in the morning, it's altogether likely I've been in meetings all morning, part of the afternoon. So you see in 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock emails, that's probably the first opportunity I'm having to respond to them. So that's not going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. So I did just try to list a few of the other pieces we're working on. My entire staff is still full out. Putting 115% forward to try and maintain day-to-day operations and deal with amalgamation issues, which are numerous and continue to creep in unabated. And we continue to run to surprise day after day after day. So as well planned as we were, that's to be expected. So happy to answer any questions on my report. You have several other staff reports, and we have the staff here to answer any questions on those as well.
All right, thank you. Council, you have 3 reports there essentially. Fire away at will. Just stick up. I will pretty much. You know, Cindy's got 8 bullet point form paragraphs, discussion topic. You got nothing.
No, I think I'm good. I'm gonna-
Come on, Craig's gotta have something. Okay, awesome. Yay.
So in the first ever Diamond Edition newsletter, at the back, it said we would all have to update our bank payees to Diamond Valley. So my bank hasn't caught up with this news yet.
No banks have.
But in the newsletter, it says you can't pay to your old payee, it will go to the right spot. But I am now under the understanding that you can't pay to your Town of Diamond or Town of Black Diamond, Town of Turner Valley utility number. And it just magically appeared in Town of Diamond Valley. So there was just a little communication glitch that I noticed.
We'll go right over here where the heads are nodding. Yeah.
You
take it. You take it. Let's get technical and then we'll put this in some new communication.
The payee, you're absolutely correct. The Town of Diamond Valley has not been set up. It's not that easy, actually. We have 3 criteria that we have to meet to set up a payee. One has to do with a utility or something with the utility that has Town of Diamond Valley on it, which is actually fine. We actually have that now. One of them has reference to tax, and it has to be under the Town of Diamond Valley, which is actually quite impossible, but we did it, our banker has told us that there's an opportunity that we can do a bit of a workaround there. So, and then the third is having an accounts receivable that has Town of Diamond Valley. So we have to have 3 criteria that we have to submit to the bank for them to set up the payee. So when I went back to them and I said, well, we don't have anything from a tax perspective with the Town of Diamond Valley, we won't throw a number of money. So they have a workaround. So we will have at least 2 of the 3 requirements submitted in the next 2 days. But in the meantime, you are correct in that the Town of Turner Valley and the Town of Black Diamond payees have not been taken down yet. They are still available. Where I think everything though will be deposited in the ATB banking facility, which is where it needs to go. So it's just part of the short-term pain that we have in transitioning over. It's not that easy with banking facilities. They just don't move that.
Or change addresses.
No.
Yeah. Miss LeBlanc. Oh, sorry, question from the mayor.
Yeah, it just in respects to those of us that have like our bills get automatically
Tips program.
or tips. Yeah, I don't have tips, but like my town bill, I just leave that as is then for now.
That's mine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't touched anything. I don't plan on it until someone says it didn't work. So
Councilor Gordon.
Yeah, just a minor thing. I meant to send this out earlier this morning. In the report that you put together, Ms. LeBlanc, there's a live link to the enforcement and it's turnervalley.town in our handout here. And I assume that should be Diamond. I mean, it's still working, but I assume that should be diamondvalley.town, right? It's just, I was looking at it, it's like, well, that live link, it works. And I came back, it's like, wait a minute, that's turnervalley.town. So it's rerouting, everybody's good, but just wanted to bring that up. Well, thanks again for the work that has been done. And I know, I think we've already mentioned this, but the report here speaks to it. Our New Year's Eve party. Yeah, I really want to give kudos to our staff working with that, but maybe more importantly, all the volunteers that joined up with that. Like 52 plus volunteers, I think, that got together and we celebrated record numbers in attendance. So that was, I just want to give kudos to the staff for organizing that and getting all the volunteers in line. That was a really good time.
Yeah, Diamond Valley Sustainability Volunteer Committee.
Yeah.
They ran a great after party. And I had to stick there till 1 o'clock. That's the longest I stayed at. A long time. Not because I wanted to get to that point, but it was well done. It was well done. Okay.
Stay up later than American Tuesday.
I can stay up and watch TV till 1 because I don't have to move and I can just pet the dog and drink orange juice. But I actually stand on your feet as a different story. Don't know how I did it in my 20s. Yes, I did. We won't talk about those things. Okay.
Talk about those.
I can eventually be set for information.
Heather has a question or you got?
No, I just want to make a comment and I'll put the resolution to accept for information. Thank you for the wonderful reports. They're very clear, to the point. Very much appreciated.
Excellent.
I'd like a motion forward to accept the staff reports as information.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Patience, comment before we vote.
Just in reference to Councillor Glaber's comments, I'll work with our finance and comm staff and see if we can update our website. Actually more pointing on that bill thing.
Thank you. Purely selfish.
No,
Good luck.
Don't
tell them that.
You tell February 25th, then you get penalized. You better do that.
We want the information coming down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my, I'm gonna have a good mayor's update. Don't believe anything Councillor Kleiber told you.
Yeah.
Number one, it's Miss Lamont.
Thank you for the opportunity, the mayor. I just wanted to comment on a few things since I'm the challenge, just to give you some perspective.
Yes.
What Ms. Middleton has said in 3 minutes or less, I have to condense to 30 words or less. That's part of what I have to do. And of course, it can change sometimes, depending on the institution and who's writing it to begin with. What we found now is we've had 6 people that have been involved in communications, all of which have done a great job. But to be able to get that message out consistently has been a little bit challenging. So I will be advising you that we're taking a look at our scheduling and the type of advertising or the type of notifications that we're putting out there and trying to give it a little bit more of a unified feel, make sure that it's more consistent. So things like the diamond, while I understand its purpose and it's really helpful, I'm looking at maybe changing that schedule so that it's not so much monthly, because we also have council connections that's notifying the public as well through Western Wheel paid advertising. So right now I'm taking an inventory of absolutely everything. We will see some changes and you will see the look being a little bit different and the writing being a little bit different, so that we're trying to capture the attention of the most important items. But I can tell you that it's not an easy task right now. However, we have a fantastic team that's working towards it, and it's just a matter of coordinating that. And you will soon hopefully see some changes to that. So I appreciate your patience.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
I was really looking forward to reading your monthly. I just did that for a year and a half, and I was like, "This one's on Barry." It's definitely something that took up quite a bit of my time, and also Laura Lee as well. So yeah, thanks for looking at it, Mike. That's awesome.
With that being said, when is our next edition with the mayor's newsletter attached? Ordinance?
There is,
Biggest
I made through the mayor, there is a communication meeting tomorrow. We're just going to firm some things up. I would like to alternate so that the newsletter would actually fall in line with the utility bills, not as an addition step in, but something about the same time, so we have the same consistency in that area.
Yeah.
And that the community or the council connection potentially be reduced to once a month, but anything that's clearly important to council that needs to be highlighted is what's featured in that. That's the purpose of
in the
it.
council connection.
Right, because the rest of it, every item that we have, whether it's a third party event or whether it's basically a coordinated event or information notification, goes through a full campaign. So there's probably 5-6 different forms of communication, maybe more than that if it is one of these special events, just posters. And all of that takes coordination and resources. So if it's something that's printed, it has to be printed and delivered, so you've got more staff time. The other ones that we're trying to do is make it still very accessible to all residents. So if we're reading in the newspaper, we'll continue that. But soon I'd like to maybe relaunch what had been done a few years ago. That this say this is only about methods of satisfaction, customer or resident satisfaction survey, and maybe focus a little bit more on how try to gather any information on how people want their areas. So, you know, that and any feedback council here and help us know if there's something that you see that's either missing or that you feel is a bit of duplication. And then as we funnel that through, that more consistent message, it should be, we hope, wider reach and better retention.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Gordon?
Yeah.
I'll summarize.
Really quickly, one item I do want to note, only because our recreation supervisor is not here today. I've noticed Mayor Thorns, I know Phillips has put out posts already as well regarding the upcoming summer games and the request for volunteers to come in. I know I worked a little bit on the pump track on one Saturday morning, and that's killer work. There's so much handwork that has to be done on that. There's 2 bridges that still be built. So I'm going to throw it out there. Volunteers are needed. When the weather gets to the place where we can work on that, there's a lot of work on that pump track. So as we align communications with the town of Okotoks, I think it'd be really worthwhile speaking for that, as Mayor Thorne has been on that couple of posts already.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, we have a motion to accept for information already on the floor. I would just like to say, Mr. Patience, to you, to your staff, thank you for the excellent work, stick hand on all of the nuances, all of the departments. Keep up the good work. All in favor?
Can I just ask one question?
Absolutely. Yep.
Was that a suggestion to ask folks volunteers?
No, sorry, the suggestion was to
Well, it
get,
sounded good. I was like,
Well-
why not float that out?
well, I
Because
think
there's a lot of people there.
there is, because I know Mayor Thorne has been asking your town for volunteers
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But I think we can coordinate a volunteer force on that.
Yeah,
There is a lot that needs to be done.
because there may be people that want to come out, see the track, never heard of that.
Yeah.
Live in
We might
Okotoks.
want to go into Okotoks and do
Bingo.
something else.
You do like a one Saturday where
Yeah.
volunteers are just taken.
Yeah.
And you say if you're working on the track, go to Blackbird, turn it off for
Yeah.
Diamond Valley.
Here.
That's
Yeah,
my
here,
question.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to collaborate.
There is, yeah. What, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on. Thank you, Mr. Patience. Correspondence information, municipal affairs special report.
Give you the motion.
I have a question.
Oh, we do have questions. So we have a motion to adopt and then we have some. Some yours? No, that's next week. Some president's image.
Oh.
We're gonna do municipal first.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So I got a motion to adopt. Question for Chloe.
Well, it's on the third resident concern. Just didn't want you to get away. Just accepting information.
We're not accepting all of these as information until we
See,
go through each one.
Yes, we're on municipal affairs.
I just didn't want you to accept
Oh,
me out.
no.
Is that a question?
Yes, I'm going to ask that question.
So.
Oh, so you want to go down low?
Yes.
All right, for the first one, we're talking municipal affairs official administrative report, motion by Councilor Gordon to accept for information. Ms. Thompson,
No, I'm just saying, I'm,
you want it done. All in favor?
I,
There we go. It's very, very. Okay, the next one is the
Rushing you.
President's Summit of the Future of Municipal Government brought by Councillor Holiday. Councillor Holiday, tell us what you heard.
So some of you might know I'm on Alberta Uni's Municipal Governance Committee. And they've been doing a lot of work on the future of municipal government, and they're focusing the upcoming President Summit on intermunicipal collaboration, which we're seen to be somewhat experts on now. And they've requested that reached out to me and asked if we had somebody, staff or counselor or both, that would be interested in attending and being part of the panel for one of their breakout sessions. So the end of March. As far as the name President Summit, I never attended it, and for some reason that name kind of scares me because it sounds like I'm not welcome, but I've told them that. So, but it's they're focusing on small. The name of the session will be small but mighty, finding strength and collaboration, and they're reaching out not just us but also Princeton and a small northern community. But it's interesting. We do have lots of lessons to share and lots of people wanting to hear from us. So I think it'd be something worth attending. I'm just not sure with workload if, I mean, obviously, I think Barry has the most background in that and would be the most likely candidate for council to do it. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know. You recommend?
I accept that motion. I'll second that. You're free with it.
I think that this is a great opportunity for us to showcase Diamond Valley to every other municipality. If we can get our logo up there too, I'll swag them to be ready.
Yeah.
Right? So, John, I can drive and you can sit back and relax and sleep and get the rest you deserve. But I think that you'd be remiss not to go up there and rub some elbows. I think it's a great opportunity for us for networking and talking to some other municipalities, maybe even some grant opportunities that might be coming down the road. We could maybe maximize some of that too. So yeah, I'm all for going up there and putting us on the map. So you want in? Or you want to delegate one of these ladies?
Well, we just say one council and one administrator, and we'll give direction, we set it up, and then you guys can just go, because I'm on board, like, you guys should go.
Yeah,
for sure, whether it's Sean
or you're gonna be there in
I wasn't planning to, but I guess I could. I don't know. Like I said, the name's turned me off. So, I've never been to it. So.
Yeah, let's just put the motion when we can deal with it in March.
If I attended, it would be part of, like, we have training and conference budgets.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's gonna work now that we're Diamond Valley, but you know, each counselor, I know with the always. Valley, that's still.
All right.
So,
Okay.
So do you want me to make it or send just?
Make the motion.
Okay, that council give direction to administration to send one council member and one administrator to the President's Summit on the future of municipal government. I don't know if you need the date, but
That's there. That's
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wordsmither for me.
Thanks, Brennan.
All in favor?
Bingo. Thanks for bringing that up.
I think it's a great opportunity, guys.
Yeah,
Especially if we can.
yeah, and if I may through the chair, these opportunities, when they're there, we should take them because I think people are gonna welcome us back to talk further about this. It's like, this is just showcasing, but you're gonna have municipalities coming and saying, can you come and talk to our council about this? And that's where things will really start to take off.
And I think on top of that as well, to look at the learnings that we're seeing that were never ever thought of, never considered to be issues, but oh yes, no, these are very relevant, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they are all being, ticked in the box.
Well, you need an administration to go with you.
So very good to have that. Okay, moving on. Residents' big concerns. Councillor Coiber. She's all yours.
I just want to confirm that like it's signed as a town road, but it's very narrow and looks like a house. So I want to make sure that Second Street Southeast, where this person is complaining about, is indeed under the town's purview and not a private driveway.
Okay, so great question.
Yeah,
All right.
that's confusing me.
So the Boys and Girls Club and the affordable housing, that's that street, right?
Yeah.
Down
The bottom of the hill from Tim Hortons
Yeah.
going into the,
On the south side, the left
okay,
side.
so that's essentially a
Where
private.
those little villas are.
That's not the town.
That's fine.
And then the village, I don't know,
What point though?
that's just one.
So when the,
If I may.
yeah, absolutely, get some clarity.
Okay, so
Back
I'm-
on the side.
Yeah, I'm in there every day because I drop my kids off there. So it would appear to me that the public roadway kind of ends where the circle is, like where the cul-de-sac is. So, and then that's kind of where the private driveway takes place. Now, the thing that leads me to believe that is the very first parking stall, there's a camper in there. And the town, I don't think would permit a camper to be parked directly parallel to the side of a street. So that camper's been there since the fall and it's still there today. So you can see it from the road if you drive by. So, I think it's private. That's my point, is that that circle, so the road is straight and then there's a circle there where everyone turns around to pick their kids up. As soon as you go past that circle, the camper's right there. And I think that's a private driveway. Yeah,
So
it's a parking.
go ahead and then can you? Got it?
I don't know, if Craig would know this, but, is garbage recycle picked up down there?
I would assume not, because most of those would be commercial properties. Condos would fall under that same
Okay,
commercial, so
yeah.
they'd be responsible for that.
Okay, so that would suggest to me that you're correct and the circle is probably the end of it.
Okay, Councilor Coyle.
They put up
So I'm hoping we could direct to administration to respond to this resident and find out some more information. Like at what point, it reads to me that they might be asking for speed bumps inside the privately owned space. I can't quite tell. Doesn't get so. More information.
And Ms. LeBlanc.
Thank you, Crane, and to everybody's commented. I want to reassure you that these sorts of things would be operational and that they would involve several departments. So it's, in my opinion, and my suggestion would be to pass it on to municipal enforcement. And then we'll also deal with planning to decide on where exactly those property lines are and what responsibilities we have. Condo units do have slightly different rules, but nevertheless, I would appreciate an opportunity to investigate and report back. But the other thing would be, at times, these sorts of complaints go directly to council. You look at the data, it's over a month. We really do aspire to respond to any kind of complaints that we're aware of, and at least begin the investigation within 2 days, and then hopefully have it resolved within 2 weeks, depending on what the issue is. It requires a little bit more work, but nevertheless, be in touch with the complainant and then follow through and follow up. So perhaps that is something that we can look at administratively, so that these types of things are shared with the appropriate departments clearly receive them. And then something where we can support that to council as opposed to.
Excellent, I would make that motion.
That's what we do. You don't need to motion that, because that's what we'll do. Yes. Yeah, that comes a little bit late, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just take a motion to follow up with correspondence. Motion to follow up with the letter resident of concern for administration to follow up. She's gone. She's the news to me. Late. All right, easy one. All in favor? Voting now. We're voting. Oh, sorry. Thank you all in favor. Yeah, that's carried. All right, 11.2 correspondence decision. Yeah. Right, exactly. Notice of motions, none. We will now take a 10-minute recess. And then we will return for a closed session.